only thing that really matters at this point is what they're doing in their relationship. So, but it's like once you turn the camera around and then you're like, hey, I'm retiring my husband. Cool, right? It's like, and people, you don't expect everyone to be cool, right? This man has to make this work. You know what I'm saying? Whatever he's gonna pursue, he has to he has to make.
If he had if he didn't have motivation before, now she just gave it to him.
She done put him on blast.
She done put him on real blast. Yeah. All of his cop friends are gonna be like, "You successful yet? What you doing?" You know what I mean? Like, you know, like that's what it's gonna be. You know what I mean?
And she's like, "My husband's living like a child." Right. Hi guys, welcome back. We got a message to talk about Miss Tabitha Brown and Wendy Williams. So I know who Wendy Williams is. I didn't know who Tabitha Brown. I feel like I've seen her face, but I didn't really know who she was. Our opinion on this whole her retiring her husband situation. So if you guys are not familiar, Tabitha is an entertainer. She's like an actress. She also does like TikTok videos, I think Instagram, like little videos. She's a vegan, so she does a lot of like, cooking things too. You know, she just kind of spreads that whole healthy, joyful message out there. And she's gone viral, and she's created the past couple of years a humongous following quickly. So she did a video where she is saying that she is retiring her husband. She's had a lot of success over the past couple of years. Her husband is he is a LAPD, and he's been that for 15 years. I'll put a clip of some of what she said here.
I have said to him, babe, it's time. It's time. It's time for him to dream again. It's time for him to think like a child and think, ooh, when I grow up, what do I want to be? And it's something else. It's time for a new journey, a new chance at life, right? And God has blessed us. He has blessed me that I can retire her husband.
She's saying that the success has been so great at this point, she can now retire her husband, take him out of the situation, and then here we go. Wendy Williams has now come in and said that that's ridiculous, basically.
Nope. I was married to one of those. You know, I make the money and so on and so forth. Go live your dreams, buy a business, you know, stay with me, but go, go, go. You see how that turned out. I predict that this marriage is going to be on real rocky ground in a moment. Live your dream. Then they invest in stuff and they lose the money. And then they invest in something else and the money gets swindled or stolen. And then they invest again. Then he comes home and throws his bag down. And he's like, and she's like, what? What? And he's like, I can't do this. And this is your fault. You're over here making all your money and stuff. You had me quit my job and I can't find my live like a child. Like, no, no, you work.
She just said complete disagreement with it. Tabitha came back and had a kind of, I guess they would say, kind of one of those, a classy read, I guess you would say.
First of all, Wendy Williams, honey, God bless you. God bless you, okay? And so people sent me a little clip, and I said, oh my God, the pain this woman must be in. Wendy, the pain you must be in to feel this way. And so this is my prayer for you. I pray that love finds you.
So we're about to have an unpopular opinion, you guys. So I know, especially with women, and I know this is probably not, maybe even with some men, you know, especially with moderate men. I don't know. Wendy is kind of shady anyways, y'all. I mean, that's kind of like her whole thing, right? To have throw a little bit of shade, but she does kind of give her honest opinions on things. And we all know that she's had a turbulent marriage, and that all happened. I don't know the exact situation with her marriage, but I do know it was pretty bad. And she's gotten divorced. It's pretty ugly. So she's hurt, and she didn't have real love, basically. However, I think we kind of agree with Wendy on this. What? What the fuck? And and not the shadiness of Wendy and how she delivered the thing, but I even think that people are saying that the person that emailed us said that she felt that Wendy was being shady the way she was her delivery. I think that what she said was, in a lot of cases, is pretty accurate.
Yeah. I mean, the difference here is, like, look, men, they have a lot of pride in their work. This man was not just like, you know, he's a cop.
Yeah.
He's a cop, which means he put his life on the line for 15 years. And so part of that becomes his identity. He said it comes his identity, and also supported his family. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So he took pride in, as a man, being able to support his family. And I think she thought that the way when I viewed their video, the way I see it is, because women, sometimes we think men think like us. And so that's when I was listening to her, I'm thinking, you're thinking that this man thinks like you.
Yeah.
And so I think when they got married, or when she decided to pursue her dream, he needed a job because they moved out of state. So he found a job as a cop. And then she said in 5 years, that was what they talked about, in 5 years, I'll retire you and you can go off and do your dream, which, okay. You know what I mean? But it ended up being 15 years. And it looks like he ended up like being a cop.
Yeah.
He liked, it gave him pride, and he
took care of his family.
And took care of his family as a man. That's what men want, you know. However,
I know. Because I know it's unpopular opinion.
When men, how can I say this? When men retire us from work, it's much different than when we retire them from work. Because a man wants to provide for his family. He wants to be the male, the alpha male in his family. He wants to be the one that makes the decisions and the rules. Women, to me, are not. That's not we. Even though we work sometimes, it's just not our place. You know what I mean? And I don't think that she's trying to be manipulative. I actually think that she was trying to be helpful, and he went along with it. And he even said it took him a year to make that decision. I'm assuming it took him that year because he's a man.
He's a man.
He doesn't want to give up his job where his wife is now taking care of him.
And I will say this, I think that it appears that with Tabitha, I think her husband's name is Chance. I think it's Chance is his name. It does appear that they have a genuine, I say appear because we never know, but that they have a genuine marriage.
Yeah.
They were together for 23 years.
He's
I mean,
like
you don't do all of this.
Right.
Yeah, you don't do all of this and that. So when Tabitha was talking and I heard that video, I did see like the love. I did see the love for her husband. But there's this when roles get shifted like that, and that's a pretty big one. Retiring a man is really big shift. You know what I mean? I do feel like Wendy has a point. Now, Wendy is thinking out of hurt because her marriage went south. So I do believe that there's a part of Wendy where she's bringing her situation and that emotion into this woman. And I don't think they have the same type of marriages. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't seem like they have the same type of marriages. But it just seems like when men, I don't feel like a man would be comfortable with that.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like,
I think what happened to Wendy is that Wendy, like I was telling you, Wendy makes a lot of money. She's a millionaire, and she's got her own show. She would be considered a modern woman that's successful.
Feminist.
So that would be considered feminist, right? So she married a guy who probably had less than her. And like women always do, when they, how feminists think is that we're the same.
Yeah.
And what ended up probably happening in her marriage is that she tried to help him out.
Yeah.
In a masculine way to show him that I'm there for you. And then she found out really quickly in that marriage that men and women are not the same. That men don't view their jobs the way that we view jobs. Like she said, there were a lot of things that happened when she tried to let him do what this woman is about to do. You know, a lot of resentment happened because he wasn't successful. He went out and tried to pursue. Wendy let him go out and pursue his dream on her dollar. Right? Even though they were married, and I consider money in marriage the same. It belongs to both of you. You know what I mean? But she's like, I'll be the breadwinner. That's what Wendy was saying. Then she went out and you know, said, you know, go do your thing. Well, he went out there like a, you know, like she said, I want you to be like a child again and pursue what you want to do. Well, he did it and he didn't become successful.
Yeah.
And then he resented Wendy. Because Wendy is successful.
Yeah.
And men have a hard time with that. And more so than women. They'll resent you if you are much more happier at your job and make way more money than them.
And just because a man failed at his, live like a child, like she says, his dream, does not mean that the woman is going to stop pursuing her. A woman is going to stop pursuing her. So while he's, failing at his dream, and she's only succeeding. Yeah, she's going to keep climbing. And that's where Wendy is speaking about, I think, is that resentment will creep in. So
now this is only if you're an ambitious man. So if you marry a guy who is ambitious, and ambition can be in any job. You can be an ambitious cop. Yeah. You can be an ambitious plumber. Ambitious plumber. You can be an ambition in anywhere that you find is your calling.
And I feel like he's in 15 years in LAPD. That feels like an ambitious man. So I would think that it would be. I mean, I don't want to put words in this man's mouth. I don't know.
It's about to go down. 15 years. Come to this day. Mm-hmm. It's bittersweet.
Yeah. Bittersweet.
How you feeling?
A little conflicted. It's part of my identity. But looking forward to the next.
Yeah, time to start dreaming again, ain't it?
Yeah.
You know exactly what he's thinking. He said on the thing that
but it's just
he's happy to be able to pursue his career. So I guess I'm speaking about men in general and not necessarily just chance. But I do think that there has to be something within you that's maybe, I guess nervous. Well, and not sure, not. He said he's conflicted. So I would think that is an accurate assessment. I feel like a lot of men would be very conflicted with this.
It's hard for men to have to rely on people for money,
especially
even
women.
If it's their wife. It's very hard for them to do that because they're supposed to be the leader of their home. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. That is how men are wired. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times women, we don't see that because if we're successful, it's okay. But we're not. Our success isn't determined by if we're career women.
Right.
We could literally just be housewives, and we can be considered successful. Mm-hmm. That's fine. You know what I mean? But men are always going to be
attached to their careers,
and other men are going to do that to them, not just women. Other women are going to say, and so she had him on camera talking about this because to me, she seemed more proud of herself.
So yes,
and see, this is what I'm saying. It looked kind of self-serving to me because what she's saying is, I wanted to return. She tells the backstory, you know what I mean? And I wanted to this, and that day has come, and now I get to do this, and I'm now successful, and I did this, and I want him to do
now
this. And I heard a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want my husband to be a cop because he has a chance of getting killed. Well, your husband took that chance because he has value in that job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's not, so he's not going to quit that job because he's afraid of death, or else he would have done that 15 years ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, it seemed like a lot of eyes. And she's the most successful one financially, and that's why she's staying there.
And this is what happens. This is what happens when the roles get kind of blurred like that. Mm-hmm. It can create some shaky ground.
Which is why a lot of women in Hollywood that are beautiful can never stay married because they make so much money, and there aren't a lot of men that make more than them.
Yeah, that's intimidating.
You know what I mean? It's intimidating to a lot of guys. You not only are you famous, but now you outrank me check-wise. And so, of course, when someone is paying the bills and someone is responsible for the welfare of the household, you start feeling like you are the leader of that family.
Just as a whole, I just feel like she shouldn't have did it publicly.
Yeah.
So I think that it just seems like Tabitha is like very proud of herself, and I'm not sure that is. I'm even conflicted because I'm like, I'm not sure if that's a wrong feeling to have because I think she has admiration for her husband, and clearly it seems like she does. So I do think she felt like she was doing something right. But in a lot of these cases, what ends up happening is if he's not successful, it is going to become a shaky. Yeah, the relationship will become that big, beautiful foundation. I should never quit
my job.
Yeah,
that's what's gonna, that can happen. And also, like you were saying about the whole thing with her giving the rebuttal. Wendy.
Why did you do that?
See, I think when she did that, now everybody's going to see if this marriage is going to last.
Yeah.
See how when you do stuff like that, now your marriage is going to be under a microscope, and if something happens,
you shouldn't tell all your moves anyways.
Right.
You shouldn't be telling everybody all your moves anyways. What you're gonna be doing next, but say this is why you don't want to share, even if it's something that you're proud of and excited about, and it's great about to happen. Sometimes when you share things like that publicly, it's not going to get it's not going to be received well by a lot of people, and people will start injecting all their thoughts on this, and then your idea all of a sudden of what you thought was beautiful, happy, fun, and joyous is now turned into this damn.
I mean, I've actually had this in my younger years. When I was in my 20s, I always made more than the guys that I dated.
Me too.
And anytime I tried to help them because they were in problem, financially help them, which I would do because that's just it was just because. Again, I was thinking like her. I was thinking that if I give them money or if I give them help, then I'm
desired. I'm desirable now because he's allowing me to help him. Yeah.
But what I found out is that when you date a guy where you make more than him and you're helping him out, a lot of times they do feel resentment towards you because you have more money than them, and and they feel like you're not going through what they're going through, and you're emasculating them in a way. And I learned a lot from that in my younger years to never do that because men have to have a certain amount of pride in getting things on their own. And when women sort of interject and try to help them, even though we may be coming from a good place, sometimes we can make things worse trying to make things better.
I know. I used to do the same thing when I was younger. When I made more money, which is all the time, it was like, I never understood it too when you're young. Like, I did not understand what the problem was. I'm like, well, sorry, why is this a problem? Like, I don't understand. But the truth is that, in my experience, and even throughout, 20s, 30s, and now 40s, I've just seen that men just have take a certain amount of pride in their work, their purpose, their money, that all that stuff. It's not necessarily just about the money. It's that it's not the money. It's the success. It's the success.
Whatever they're into. Yeah. So for him, it's being a cop, and he's ambitious in that. He's good at that. You know what I mean? He's put his life on the line. That's how important that job was to him for 15 years. She said it. But she said it took him a year, or he said it. He said it took me a year to come up with this decision.
Right.
And I'm certain that's probably because, like I said, he's a man.
Right.
And he's realizing his wife is now going to be taking care of him.
Right.
And she's already successful. She's already running
there.
her mouth on.
So he's just getting started. He's just getting started with his success, right?
If he makes it, you know what I mean? Because sometimes people do better when they don't feel compared.
Yeah.
And this can happen. It happens to me and you.
Yeah.
When we get compared, because people always compare me and Danielle because we're sisters and we're just this too. Yeah. And so she's already very successful, and she's also mouthy. And wordy, and she word vomits. She just tells all of her stuff without thinking about his masculinity at all. You know what I mean? And she put him on camera. He could barely look at the camera. And now it's on Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now it's on a big stage, and then there's a rebuttal. She had to do that, and it was all sarcastic and weird. Her personality is really sharp.
Yeah, Wendy. I feel like Wendy. Well, you talking about Tabitha?
You could tell she was upset.
There was some ingenuine. It felt like she was upset.
She was upset, and she didn't want to give Wendy. She knows it's going to get back to Wendy.
Yeah, she smiles like this all the time in all her videos. This is like her thing. But also this is part of like her. She's a personality as well. So she's an actress. So I think this is part of her gig too. The way she is, that kind of like smile she does. It's part of her gig. So I think
with the fake, I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about. See, I don't like when
people start.
Church people like to do that. You know what I mean? It's like, keep it real. Okay, you're not praying for me. You're mad at me.
We're not saying that she didn't love her husband and she does not want to. We're not saying that the genuine feeling of wanting to help her husband achieve his dreams is not real. I believe that woman wants to do that for him. Right? Really I believe that. Yeah. But on the other side of it, it's kind of like, but men are wired different. And I think that when we go outside of that thought that men are the exact way, in the way we perceive them to be, is when things get kind of weird. It does to me. And so that's why we're so weird with role reversals. Now, we've said this a million times that there are always and will always be exceptions and rules. And this could very well be a situation where Tabitha and Chance are in a exception situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where they're the couple that this is just how it works. They've been together for, I mean, the longevity's there. So, I mean, like, you know, so they've been through thick and thin, poor, succeed. They've been through all of the hurdles together. So this could very well be a situation where someone is just an exception couple.
Yeah. Even though she was making more than him when he was a police officer, he was still providing for her, because the whole reason she had a career was because he was a police officer.
Sure, yeah.
So he still gets the kudos for that. You know what I mean? Like, he still gets that. But now what she's saying is, because she kept saying I. There was a lot of I. I want
we
him
were like,
to,
okay.
You know what I mean? And so now he's giving that, but I know why it took him a year, because now he's thinking, I'm not the hero anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What do you do now?
I'm not the hero anymore in this. Now she's going to be, you know, successful, and I'm not going to work. But if I don't stop, then it's going to be like I don't believe in her.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he feels like I feel like he kind of has to do it. But then, you know, you put a camera on somebody and he's not even looking at the camera.
He's putting
lotion on and tying a shoe, and he's just probably thinking to myself, I wonder how many of my friends are going to be hearing this. You know what I mean? Like,
well, there's a certain amount,
you know what I mean? There's
police friends too. These like alpha men. Most police officers like alpha guys.
There is a certain amount of pride men have. You know what I mean? And you have to be very careful about that. You know, I don't like how this. I don't like how this went at all. You know, let me just say this: whenever I get married, whenever that day happens, and I meet a man, he makes over 6 figures. Let's just play that game. He makes over 6 figures, okay? Then one day after 5 years of marriage, he loses his money.
Yeah.
Will I go to work? Absolutely. You know why? 100%. Because I know the kind of man he is, and he's going to be working. He will still be considered head of house to me. You know what I mean? But I won't come on this show and then say, well, guess what? My husband lost his money. Guess what? I'm the breadwinner, and I'm going to be helping him so he doesn't have to do anything.
No, you need to
I'm not doing that to him.
As a wife, you got to keep your man's pride and ego intact. You know what I mean? Like it's part of you as a woman and as his wife to make sure that you're not humiliating the man in front of the public. What we know privately is going on in our relationship is we understand. So Tabitha and Chance may very well understand each other. I guess maybe it's fine. The problem is that they put it out, or put out there into the world where she has millions of followers. Yeah, I know this is unnatural in a way, is because it wouldn't even be a topic if it was. See what I'm saying? So if what she was doing, retiring her husband, was something that was very natural and normal, none of us would talk about it.
No, if we were retiring, if he was retiring her, no one would.
This is not even a topic.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the double standard we have in this country that works well. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is that I would not then anything like, say we have a show, we talk about relationships all the time.
Yeah.
If I was going to talk about my husband in a real way, I would have Danielle interview him and let him say what he wants to say, and then let him have the opportunity to say whether he wants to be on the show or not be on the show. You know what I mean? I just wouldn't put a camera like in his face, and you know what I mean, because I think like what he's thinking is, now I have to be successful because of this Wendy Williams thing. Because if I'm mediocre now, everybody's going to think Wendy and Williams was right. And
the pressure is on him right now.
Because she shouldn't have done that. And so that's the thing.
It's on him though.
It's on him, right? But also, then her marriage is also on her.
Oh, because
the destruction of her marriage. If what happens, then Wendy Williams have another show. I told y'all.
Yeah. Now so Tabitha's their life, like she gave a little synopsis of what they've been through over the past 23 years and 15, like especially the last 15 years. Her wanting to pursue her dream, he kind of poured into that. Her pursuing her dream, which would be more of a natural way. I mean, that we didn't care about that.
Yeah.
Him helping her pursue the dream was like, okay, well that seems pretty natural. You know, it's not that your wife can't. Your wife is there to definitely support your dream. I mean, that goes without saying. Period. Like, I don't believe any wife should not be supporting her husband in many different ways. Like, I think that if he has a dream outside of being a police officer, definitely I don't want my husband to ever feel stifled if he has something he's thinking about doing. You know what I mean? I don't ever want that. I'm always in full support and believe that he can do whatever he wants to do. Right? But I do think there's men just don't have this they're not so forthcoming when it comes to just being retired. And
have you ever seen a man retire? Most men have a hard time taking retirement because they're so used to working and having something to do, through the day. I just think that I think that maybe she shouldn't have done this. I think she poured gasoline on something that was fun. And see, the thing is like,
I don't think she should have had a rebuttal.
I just don't think she shouldn't have done this at all. I honestly think she should have just did it. and then just went on about her business, about her cooking shows and stuff like that. I don't think she should have, put that out there like that, because she's kind of put a lot of pressure on him. Because look, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it. Wendy Williams talking about it. Other platforms are talking about it. And now this guy is kind of in this place where, and now I've got to be successful. And what Wendy Williams was trying to say is that when she did that for her husband, he was having a hard time becoming successful and resenting her because she already was.
Yeah.
And
that's what we're trying to tell. That's what we say this all the time, though.
Sometimes
is that when you switch that role, man,
it changes everything.
The thing is, when you switch the role, it can work out. I'm not saying it can't work out. Anything's possible. But generally speaking, y'all, like when you switch the role, it does get weird. Like it gets strange. But there's a lot of relationships now where they're just like modern relationships.
I mean, but longevity is great to have, but they still get divorced. I mean, look,
Jeff
Bezos is getting divorced. Bill Gates, they've been married for years. You know what I mean?
I do hope I'm not saying like I would never want anybody's relationship to be bad, anything. But so I'm always feeling like.
But sometimes a different energy is what Wendy was trying to say.
Yeah.
A different energy coming in, even if you've been married for a while, can switch things. He's never been the guy who was. He's never been the helpmate.
And so now,
because women are the helpmate to men in marriage. You know what I mean? Now he's the helpmate.
Yeah, he's like thrusted into the situation. Like, I feel like if I was a fly on the wall in their marriage, I would see them understanding exactly what they're doing. Like they understand each other, right? They're the ones. The only thing that really matters at this point is what they're doing in their relationship. So, but it's like once you turn the camera around, and then you're like, hey, I'm retiring my husband. Cool, right? It's like, and people, you don't expect everyone to be cool, right?
She talks to the camera like she's talking to a 5-year-old. You remember on The Duggars, Michelle Duggar? Michelle Duggar talks to grown-ups like they're 5, and she was like, he can be a kid again and treat him like he's 5. I'm like, but he's not a kid. He's a grown man now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I have a problem when women kind of coddle men that way.
And part of her character is that's what people like about her, is that she does it kind of funny. She's kind of funny. That way. But this was not a situation where it would be that you could be doing that character. You know what I mean? If she did it in a serious moment.
It's funny if you're talking about, soup or vegetarian soup, then do it. But you're talking about real life. You're talking about, like your husband and stuff. So now it just looks like you're being sarcastic. I
feel like I just wouldn't have said anything at all. If I really was secure with what I did with my husband, if I understand what we're going to be doing in this marriage, and we know I don't need to explain anything to anybody. Like I feel like Tabitha should have just said nothing, but I get that the human behavior sometimes you can't help but to kind of like.
But the only person the only person that can be happy about this, like publicly, is Tabitha.
Yeah,
because she's. You know what I mean? Because she's the one who's retiring him, and she's the one making the money, and she's the one who's successful. I mean, he's just there. You know what I mean? He's just there like, oh my God, I have to quit my job, and I'm going to put my hands, I'm going to put my life in the hands of this, woman. Like, you know what I mean?
What does he want to do? What does he want to do?
She's a nonprofit.
He wants to expand on his nonprofit or something. And in Tabitha's situation, maybe marriages like that, where they are just an exception and it worked out. It is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to exclude that thought because that's a possibility, right? But I think that when I'm thinking about relationships in general, and circumstances like this in general, so I only think about that part. And I do believe this could be a problem later on. This man has to make this work. You know what I'm saying? Whatever he's gonna pursue, he has to he has to make.
If he had if he didn't have motivation before, now she just gave it to him.
She done put him on blast.
She done put him on real blast. Yeah. All of his cop friends are gonna be like, "You successful yet? What you doing?" You know what I mean? Like that's what it's gonna be. You know what I mean?
And she's like, "My husband's living like a child."
Right. If he had gone up there and said, I'm retiring my wife. You know what she would have? She'd go, oh, I love my husband. He's such a blessing. And everybody would be like, girl, you're so lucky to have a man like that. That's how the conversation would be.
Right.
But it's different for men. Man. We have double standards. It's not the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are not the same. If you have a nasty home, they blame your wife.
Yeah.
Whether she's working or not. If you have, you know what I mean? If your kids are a hot mess, they're going to blame her. Yeah. Not really you. You know what I mean? If you broke in the house and there's no money, they're going to blame the man, even if both of you are working. That's the way things are. I don't know why we like to pretend like double standards just don't exist.
It's just like weird. It's like we have a problem. I don't have a problem with it. No. It's like people are really like trying to resist the thought that double standards are just not existent.
No, we're not.
Double standards exist. Okay, deal with it. You know, and this is just how it is. Like we didn't make the rules. This is just naturally how it is. I feel like people have a problem with it, but I just don't. I just accept it, and then you work with your part. I work with my feminine part. Men work with their masculine part, and I don't try to be a man, and hopefully he's not trying to be a girl, and we're good.
Yeah, a man sleeps around with a lot of women, he's a pimp. A girl sleeps around with a lot of men, she's a hoe. See, they're just double standards. They're never going away. That is what slut shaming is not going to make that different. I don't know why they hold a slut walk. That isn't going to make things happen. Nothing has changed from that.
Yeah, but all in all, you guys, thanks for sending us a video.
To be continued with this because this isn't over.
Yeah,
Tabitha, this is not over.
I want to see if that smile is ever going to stop. I'm not sure. I don't know. That smile. I want Wendy gonna say something that's gonna make that smile go away.
I'm not a smiler. Like I'm not one of those smiley girls. So whenever I see people who do that, where they smile and their eyes aren't smiling, they're just smiling like a nut. You know what I mean? I get weird. I get very. It's like I can always tell. I'm like a BS meter. Yeah. I can tell when somebody's just.
I'm uncomfortable.
She makes me cringe. Yeah. Like when people do that, I literally get a cringy feeling when people talk like that. And I know that just her personality. So there's no shade on that. But it's just. I get a cringy feeling when people. But again, this is part of, I believe, what is kind of like a character. It's kind of like part of a character. I'm not saying that that's complete, but I think that she used the character in a serious moment. That's what I was saying before.
And that's what's weird to me. That's what's weird to me.
And then with that whole rebuttal, she still tried to keep the character up. And it just looked like she was bitter. Like she was annoyed with Wendy and she just didn't say it the right way. And it came off very fake.
So for this particular situation, I kind of do understand where Wendy's coming from. I'm sorry. Thank you for the topic idea. It's interesting to me. Leave some comments below. Let us know what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Very important. And that's it, right? Okay. See you guys next week. Bye.